This is the A-10 Warthog, and it's turning Iranian proxy maneuvers into a little more than a training exercise. After a 3-year gap from major combat missions, America's toughest bird is back in action, and this time it's not just providing cover for ground forces. It's actively taking out mobile missile teams before they can slip away outfitted with state-of-the-art systems. The Warthogs have now been assigned one of the toughest roles on the battlefield: eliminate launcher crews before they vanish. But what the Houthis don't realize is that this veteran aircraft still has a few tricks hidden up its fuselage. On March 29, 2025, multiple A-10s from the 124 Fighter Wing, along with 300 support personnel from the 190 Fighter Squadron, were deployed to the Middle East. This marks the most significant deployment of the A-10 in the past 3 years, and it's not just about making a symbolic appearance operating out of Al-Fur Air Base in the UAE. These aircraft are proving essential to Navy operations against a constantly evolving threat. The Houthis have adopted what are called shoot-and-scoot tactics in an attempt to avoid detection. Here's the basic rundown, with assistance from IRGC advisors and Starlink terminals. Houthis crews receive precise targeting data. Once they are locked in, they pull camouflage missile launchers, often hidden in caves, into firing position. These weapons are usually C-800-2S, carrying 165-kilogram armor-piercing warheads and capable of hitting targets up to 180 kilometers away. While these missiles aren't cutting-edge tech, quantity has its own quality fire, enough of them, and some are bound to get dangerously close. But the Houthis know full well that the second they launch us, retaliation will be fast and overwhelming. Maybe think do avocado on a mukbang, binge, launch from a cave, a tunnel, or concealed ravine and hide the launcher. The moment the missile is airborne, that's exactly where the A-10 makes its presence felt. The first confirmed strike happened on April 1. The Warthogs were airborne and on station within just 18 minutes of departure with an internal fuel capacity of 11,000 pounds. These aircraft can patrol target zones for up to 90 minutes without needing to return. And when paired with KC-135 tankers, they can keep flying as long as there's ammo left on board. And let's be clear, this beast packs a serious punch, that massive barrel jutting from the nose. It belongs to the GAU-8 Avenger rotary cannon, which spans nearly 19 feet under the fuselage and protrudes right from the front. This 30mm cannon spits out armor-piercing rounds at a staggering rate of 3,900 per minute. Each shell weighs nearly half a pound and features a depleted uranium tip designed to shred through armor with ruthless precision. With this firepower, the A-10 can obliterate tanks in seconds, and when it comes to unarmed vehicles or exposed HHY personnel operating missile launchers, the aftermath leaves little doubt on that day. An RC-135 rivet joint circling the region intercepted chatter, indicating the Houthis were preparing for a strike. Since the U.S. had already dismantled most of their secure communication channels, Houthis commanders were now forced to coordinate using civilian cell networks, making their locations far easier to trace. The planned attack was expected within 20 minutes, so the two A-10s hit full throttle at their top speed of roughly 420 m. They had about 18 minutes to intercept, just barely enough time. As the jets cut across central Yemen's rugged terrain, their pilots relied on a specialized targeting system. That system is the AAQ-28 Lightning Pod, used to make sure every weapon finds its mark mounted on either Station 2 or 10, depending on the pilot's setup. This pod is 87 inches in length and about 16 inches in diameter, weighing in at around 440 pounds. It houses high-resolution flu sensors, laser targeting devices, and optical cameras. Thanks to this gear, pilots can pick out human-sized figures from as far as 28 miles away, but in this operation, there would be no sniping from a distance. The Warthogs were moving in close. As their time on station approached, the pilots spotted the Houthis unit rolling a launch out from a cave. Totally unaware, they were being watched with no radar coverage. Left. After earlier U.S. strikes, the A-10s descended low and slow. At about 6,500 meters out, they opened fire with their signature cannon, the unmistakable BRT echoing across the desert. Each A-10 carries approximately 1,150 rounds of 30mm ammo in its internal drum, but pilots usually restrict each burst to just 1-2 seconds to conserve rounds and avoid overheating the system in that tiny window. The aircraft can release about 260 rounds, each one the size of baseball. traveling at 3,500 feet per second. As expected, the launcher was destroyed in seconds, but this was just the beginning of what would become a high-stakes aerial campaign by the U.S. Air Force. On April 2, an ISR satellite picked up suspicious heat signatures northeast of Sada. Given the rarity of large trucks in that region, especially 5-ton vehicles, intelligence analysts flagged it as a likely mobile launcher and relayed the info to Air Force Command for further inspection. However, a challenge remained. While the A-10 is a formidable platform, it flies much slower and lower than modern fighter jets due to the nature of its 30M gun engagement. This also makes it more vulnerable to ground-based threats. To mitigate that, the pilot sits in a 1,200-pound titanium armored tub. This heavy shielding can shrug off 23mm rounds and has done so repeatedly in past conflicts like the Gulf War and Iraq. Still, the Warthog isn't invincible. Once the Houthis realized the A-10s were operating in the region, they issued a widespread alert and any remaining radar site began actively scanning for targets, hoping to claim a kill. But they weren't the only planes in the sky. Enter the EA-18 Growlers. At a glance, they resemble F/A-18S, and that's because they share the same A-frame. However, these jets are specially modified with cutting-edge sensors and electronic warfare equipment built for one-purpose seed suppression of enemy air defenses. Think of SEAD like this. Would you rather go toe-to-toe with a brawler and risk a 50/50 beatdown, or blindfold him first and then land the first hit? That's the SEAD approach. The Growlers were there to blind HHY radar systems, using tools built specifically for that mission, and give the A-10s the breathing room they needed to get the job done. Mounted on the Growler, this system is known as the next-generation GAU-8, and it plays a crucial role in clearing the airspace ahead of approaching A-10s. When Houthis radar operators activate their systems, they emit signals at specific frequencies. Since the next-gen jammers are designed to operate in the mid-band spectrum around 2 to 6 GHz, they can easily detect radar activity pulsing within that range. This is possible because the U.S. has built an extensive mission library cataloging virtually every radar signature from hostile search, targeting missile guidance, and tracking systems across the globe. Once the GAU-8 detects a familiar radar signal, it instantly identifies the type of system in use and triangulates its location using geometric calculations. The pilot then unleashes an energy burst roughly 270 kilowatts directly at the radar's source. Normally, radars determine position by measuring how long their signals take to bounce back. But when bombarded with overwhelming electronic noise from the GAU-8, they can no longer detect their own returns. The GAU-8 flood the radar with so much interference that it essentially blinds itself. If you liked our video, please hit the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel.